Hi Gemini and Gemini Rising. Here is a general look at your solar chart for March 2015 and casting around for ideas, reaching outside of the box for your matters of career or professional matters, or maybe it's just general goals that you want to achieve. There might be big ones, there might be small ones, and the sun is in the area to do with how you're packaging something, how others are seeing that package or you, so it's to do with projecting an image. But also you are likely to be feeling quite upbeat in your thinking up until the 13th, but even past the 13th. But the Mercury energy, your ruling planet, is in an area for where you could beat the drum on something, where you can put the word out across the wider stage, but also it's good for education, it's good for learning, it's good for being the advisor to others and being the teacher to others yourself, and thinking in bright new colors. So it is an area of yeah, it's an area where Mercury can be wanting to think bigger and getting like the overview. So putting yourself in an environment where you can do that would be a great idea. Some of you might even be traveling, or at least getting into areas or at venues that you are, you know, not in your usual stamping ground. There's going to be a solar eclipse, and that's happening on the 20th. That's quite important and significant. Well, it depends on how you use it, but the general idea with eclipses is that we can set a statement of intent. It might be intense as well, but just set your statement of intent just a little bit before the eclipse itself. In Europe, it's beginning at around about 7:40, you know, in the morning, and we will see it more on the European side than in the Americas. I don't think you'll see it at all across the Americas. So, but 90% way up high, up into northern Scandinavia and Greenland and Iceland, and then for the rest of us partial, about 40%. But you can find out more about that online if you're interested, of course, like I did. And you will find with this eclipse that if you set this statement of intent, and for you it'll be to do with career matters, but it'll also be to do with progress. So it'll be to do with authority figures or standards or parents or career, but also progress in an unconventional way. Unconventional for you, you know, something that maybe you hadn't really entertained properly before. And so sort of if you haven't a clue what that might be, just kind of leave a gap for that, and you're writing down this little statement of intent. Or it might not be writing, it might be you actually do a thing and you just hope that that's going to grow over the coming 6 months. Because if you do that with intention, this solar eclipse energy, which is quite a big one, will carry that through and unfold it and unpack it over the next 6 months. That's the idea with the eclipse. So give it a go. What have you got to lose? And then from the 13th, Mercury is expanding your mind. Mercury from the 13th is it's still expanding your mind, but your thoughts are revolving more around this packaging, this image, this maybe paperwork to do with bureaucratic things or officials, but also how you are coming across, the role you're playing, the authority you have, whatever it's about for you, could be one of those things, is more on your mind. Now there's quite a sludgy, slow, confusing, uncertain energy for all of the signs, and I made another video about this called March 2015 in a nutshell, about that energy, but also a really stunningly brilliant energy as well. So that's all on that other video about the month of March. Right, but just saying it's a bit kind of confusing and ambiguous. We haven't quite got all the facts, or we haven't quite got the feeling of confidence in our decisions. So it's probably not a good time to make important decisions if you can possibly avoid it, you see. And that's up until just into the third week, I would say, particularly the first few days of the third week for you Geminians, because that's where Mercury goes across Neptune, and we can get a jaundiced view or a distorted view when that's going on. But then we have this other stunningly wonderful aspect, which is Jupiter-Uranus, which you will connect with really, and it's going to positively underpin all of the things that you're doing, but maybe just it coming into its own really after those first 2 and a bit weeks. Although we have got Mars going across Uranus in the second week and across Pluto in a bit of the third week. So that could be affecting you directly or indirectly. But again, it's not in a particularly bad angle to your sun sign. So it might be that you suddenly take off in a different direction, or something suddenly takes off, which is the direction you were wanting to go in, you see. But none of these are adverse to you. The only one that I would say is a bit adverse for your sun sign at the moment is, of course, Saturn in your opposite sign. And again, it doesn't have to be adverse. It's just the way you handle that limitation and that being checked and harnessed by somebody else's agenda, somebody else's situation, somebody else's agenda in close relationship. And also, of course, Neptune, which has you a bit confused about which way to go in life and your role, and maybe it's changed and it's not as it used to be, and it's not panning out in the way you were hoping or expecting, etc., etc. And others tend to kind of overlook your ability, overlook your importance, you see. So, but if you are of service to others, then that is really going to be helping Neptune to deliver its energy of higher service, and then you can be getting on more with the things that you want to do, as long as you understand that they're there to help others. That's the key with it. Okay, and you can be very successful with it, but if you go for the commercial money making, it really doesn't work, unless of course you're doing something through the arts, but again, you're doing that with your heart anyway. Heart to art. Or, you know, through healing, spirituality, any of those sorts of things, then Neptune in your career area for many a year to come is going to be able to deliver better than if you're being sort of, you know, stubborn and inflexible about wanting to be a commercial success, or for egotistical reasons. And it really, it's like it curdles the two energies, you know, oil and water, or vinegar and egg. You know, they don't kind of go together. You've got to find a way round it. So I made a couple of suggestions there. However, to get back to what I was talking about, so that's all the career, and all, it doesn't have to be career, it can be just where you're going to in life, where you want to get to. So your mind will be more on that. And then Venus is warming friendships and associations, meeting and greeting, maybe with people that you're not going to get to know very well, or maybe with somebody that you do eventually get to know very well, or maybe old friends, or maybe group connections, feeling more in your stride there, feeling that these connections are enabling you in some way. You know, kind of kindred spirits perhaps, and getting quite a lot out of that. So it's either going to be connecting you in with, relating you into your career and your general direction that you want to get with this particular thing, or that's a bee in your bonnet, or it might be a welcome release and change, because you Geminians have to have your fingers in at least two pies. You are a dualistic sign, you're versatile, you're adaptable, and to put all your eggs in one basket is not a good idea. Okay, so now Mars is also in a very future-orientated, sociable area. In fact, Mars and Venus are in the same area, and it can be that you have a lot to do because of others or a group that you're connected to. It might be that you are happy about that, but just avoid being hasty and don't allow others to tire you out or to influence you or push you into something that you don't want. This is a very progressive phase, and as a matter of fact, what I was saying earlier with Mars going across Uranus, even though of and in itself it is a rather restless, disruptive energy, in the angle that it is to your sun sign, it's pretty good. However, has to be handled with care. And something brilliant could just come at you out of a clear blue sky and land in your lap, and you can be very glad it did. And it might be quite a minor sort of a thing, but which becomes like sort of like the little kind of jewel in the crown, as it were, or it can be something which immediately you see the value of. I mean, it can be either of those. But Venus and Mars are there. And then Venus moves out of there, leaving Mars behind, and goes into quite a sensitive background area where maybe you're uncertain about the feelings that you have for around somebody or something, or maybe it's not that, maybe it's around financial things, or it could even be property. You could be mulling over the past, harking back to the past. Is this a good thing? Only you can know. And finding that those emotional feelings are just getting in the way of the present, because the the present moment is our future past, if you see what I mean. And others can be oblivious to how much is being held inside of you. However, there still are some other very, very nice sociable energies. A good idea from the time that Venus goes in there is to immerse yourself in nurturing pursuits which feed your soul, because you'll feel like you really, really need that. Sort of like music, or being in nature more, or whatever it is, doing art, whatever it is, and going in for healing practices and therapies and the like. That would be a good thing with Venus there, because people that work inside of those bubbles of performing service to others are likely to very much be supportive and on your side with Venus in that area there. Jupiterian expansiveness will tend to support a more outgoing, upbeat frame of mind until next August, and there could be, you're on quite a learning curve there. This is in a very good angle to your sun sign. Speaking, writing, developing yourself through that, or other forms of creative self-expression is brilliant. There could be more exchanges which are positive, revealing, more comings and goings. You Geminians born the 1st to the 7th of June, or with 11 to 16 degrees rising, are to feel that the most. But just over this month, as I said earlier, there is a kind of really scintillating, magical, little dusting of fairy dust with that one. So definitely putting yourself into environments, maybe in group environments, or environments where, you might be taking a bit of a risk or a gamble, you're thinking, but hey, to hell with it, I'm going to go anyway. Obviously, do not endanger yourself in any way. I wasn't meaning that much of a risk. But anyway, so, and outside of your comfort zone as well. And that could put you in the way of something really very useful, and more than useful, something brilliant. Okay, and then I've mentioned Neptune, but I'll just say this month it will be felt most by you Geminians born the 27th to the 31st of May. Or with 6 to 10 degrees rising. From the 21st, the solar energy is going into this very forward-moving group involvement area, but also sort of friendly. It's a sociable, friendly. So whether you're doing it for business reasons and cultivating people in a kind of a devious, strategic kind of a way, or whether you just kind of find yourself plunged into the middle of things, whatever, you can handle it all because you are a Geminian, the children of the heavenly twins. But it's great for anything to do with technology. Networking is wonderful for that. Group connections, I've said enough, I think, all of that sort of thing. And then Saturn is going to be in a more dynamic, challenging angle to your sun sign for until June this year, and then a little bit late year, and may manifest as you're having to work harder at balancing your life and your needs and your routines even with that of an opposite number, whether that's in a working kind of dynamic with them or whether it's in your, you know, your love life, in your personal life. So a lot to learn there, and sometimes feeling as though you haven't managed it very well because you're feeling a bit frustrated. However, compromise, collaboration, cooperation wins the day in the end, and you are wiser. You got more strength in you because you know what you like and what you don't like about interaction in close relationships. And it might not be like that at all. It might be that you suddenly start to feel, or you gradually, because there's nothing sudden with Saturn, you gradually start to feel that there's a lack in the area of that close interaction, that intimacy with another, or that doing good business with another. You feel as the lack there and that needs to be improved. So you reach out into that. And even another scenario is that it is making the relationship, that you want to put it on a more formal footing. You want to change the the patterning and the routines between you and another in the relationship. And yes, it needs some sort of cutting back in a way, and maybe because Saturn is an astringent, contracting sort of energy. So it might be that, you know, certain things have to sort of be pruned back. But you then see that there is a good way then of both of you being able to move forwards. You Geminians born the 24th to the 26th of May, or with 3 to 5 degrees rising, and to feel that energy the most. And that's it for March. This is written up, well, the bones of it, the basics of it's written up my website if you want to check up on anything. And also, if you listen to your moon sign rather, and your rising sign, you could find that gives you a little bit more info on the whole thing and helps you to see the picture of